Okay, so we have our three boxes side by side. You thought, okay, who cares? We could have done the same thing with inline block, except inline block would have put spaces in between these so that they were, because they had the 4 pixels of magic space that you'd have to go negative margin in order to get rid of. We could have floated these to the left. If we floated these to the left, then this border right here would have come up to here because these would have been outside the DOM. So floats and inline block have their reasons, but you'll find that in most cases, flexbox works out better because what this really has done is turn these into inline block elements because they take up the space plus the padding. But we have no magic space in between they have to try to get rid of. So that's the base. But we can also do some things we couldn't do with inline block. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I can programmatically take that and turn it into block level elements by doing the flex direction and do column. And then when I do file, save all, and refresh, now they're back to the way they were before. And you go, well, that's no big deal. Just make them block. The same thing, except what we can do is we can reverse what we've done before. So using media queries, we may want to use the flex direction rather than turning them back into block level elements. We can also do column reverse, file, save all, and refresh. And now it's flipped those from being 1, 2, 3 into 3, 2, 1. And we can also do the same thing with row. And we'll do file, save all, and refresh. And you can see that we can make them row and go to the other side. So you've probably seen it before where you had menu items on the right-hand side. And most of the time they're doing that with flexbox, moving them from one side to the other. All right, let's see. All right, so the other thing is, let's go ahead and get rid of flex direction. And we'll do file, save all, and refresh. And now we're back to the way we were. Let's go into the HTML and add some content. So if I do paragraph and then do lorem, I've put a paragraph in there. We'll do file, save all, and refresh. And you can see what's happened. This one has a paragraph. These two have been smooshed off to the right. They have the minimum space. That's their content plus a little bit of the padding that we have placed in there. And we could do that with each of those boxes. So we can do P. Whoops, I did O. P. Lorem. And let's just do that and see file, save all, and refresh. Now, one thing that you're not very impressed with, but you should be, is that if we would do an inline block as display, then this border down here would be right here because there's no way of stretching 3. And in fact, that's the property that causes boxes, flex children to be all the same height. Is it uses stretch to say, well, if you have these like this, whichever is the tallest has the most content is going to be the one. We couldn't do that with inline block, and that's what makes this so powerful. So if we go ahead in here and we do paragraph and then lorem, and then I come down here and do another paragraph and then do lorem, file, save all, and then refresh. And now you can see that this one here has 2 paragraphs, but each of these are the same. So our borders stay down here at the bottom. That used to be very, very difficult to do. In fact, the only way to do that in CSS is to do something like give it a 1,000 pixels of bottom margin, and then a negative 1,000 pixels of padding. And that somehow made these all equal like that. But flexbox allows us to not have to worry about that. All right, we can also, let's try this. Let's go into our boxes and let's do margin 0 up and down, and then 10 pixels left and right. File, save all, and refresh. And now you can see that we've moved them apart from each other. Pretty cool being able to do it that way. We can also, let's see. Now the thing is, you can see that there is more on either side. In fact, let's go back and let's do something else. What have I done? I'm going to go ahead and take that margin off. There's one more thing I want to show you. I'm going to get rid of these paragraphs so you go back to the original the way we had it. So I can show you what we can do. So file, save all, and refresh. And now we're back here. Now there's another thing we can do, and that is in CSS, and that goes along with the flex container. So this is the flex container. What we can do is we can do justify content. Justify content. And notice that they're all flipped together on the left-hand side. If we say justify content, space between, file, save all, and refresh, you can see now they're spread out, and you can see how nice and flexible that is on either side. And if I wanted to have some space on either end rather than having them all to the left, that's where the other one comes in, and that's justify content space around, file, save all, and refresh. And now what it does is it takes all this blank space and it puts 1 unit here, 1 unit here, takes that third unit and puts half here and half here for 3 for that. Now you might have noticed justify content flex start, file, save all, and refresh. And now it's back to that again. Notice that before we used the column reverse to move these over here, but when we did that, it was 1, 2, and 3. What if we want it over here, but we want it 1, 2, and 3? That's where we can use our flex end. So flex end, file, save all, and refresh. Nice. Let's see. No, that's not right. Well, let's try it anyway. Save all. And let's actually, let me just get this out of here. File, save all, and refresh. No, that didn't work. I'm trying to remember what it's not Flex Direction Center. And one thing I've given you is in your assignments section, I have a Flex folder that has the Flex PDF. And that Flex PDF shows you all the different ones you can do, because it's kind of hard to remember. So this is a nice cheat sheet that will allow you to, hopefully it'll open there. Come on now. It's working. There it comes. I was probably going to open up in stupid Microsoft. Yeah. Microsoft. the bane of my but this is a different computer, so I forgot by default it opens up in the Microsoft then. Okay, here is, so we have flex item. This is flex items. This is just giving you the general lay of the land here, right? And then we have a main axis, cross axis. What they're trying to tell you here is that it goes main is for direction, and it either can go up and down. All right, and then we can either have it in rows or columns. We can reverse those rows and columns. So we've done that before. So justify content flex start, flex end. Justifying content flex center. That's what I was looking for. All right, so instead of doing this, because I always forget what all the syntax is. Let's go ahead and get this out of here. And instead of justify content center, and we'll do file, save all. Let's go back to our page and refresh. And now it's centered in between the two. And again, we could use margin, but you wouldn't use margin to separate these. You would use space between or space around to do that. Let's see with some other things. We could do wrap and no wrap. So if we want items to stay at a certain width, but they don't, let's just go ahead and do this. This might end up being too much. So let's do P form. Okay, and let's do section article first child. Whoops. And we'll do width 400 pixels. File, save all. And oops. All right, now let's see what happens. Okay, now let's see what happens. Okay, so you can see even though I gave it a width, it's going in and out. And if I do, let's go back to that. What is that called? Flex wrap. Flex wrap. Wrap. File. Save all. And refresh. Okay, so nothing happens until. So look what happens. What? And see how it's wrapping? It's wrapping nicely. That before we had wrapping, we had issues with margin and stuff like here because it would overlap each other when we use inline elements. What? This is just fantastic. So being able to wrap just like that, and if you didn't want to wrap, you can just, well, you can say no wrap, and we would do that depending on media query. So flex wrap, no wrap, file, save all. So you might want it wrapping at certain things, but on other ones, you don't want it to wrap. And you can see what it's going to do is just going to increase that. So we're saying, well, we really don't want to have these squeezed down that much. When it gets to a certain point where this is no longer displayable, let's just go ahead and throw these underneath. And that's where that wrap comes in. So very powerful. And then we use no wrap again if we had it to a point where we said, you know what, we don't want them anymore to go underneath, we want to go side by side. And then it would do that. Boom. Nice. All right. And you can see this stretch is default, but you can, if you didn't want to have it, you wanted to have the boxes not, you would just tell it how you want it to align. So align item stretches by default. Let's go back and do that. In fact, let's do align items flex start. And we'll do file, save all. And let's bring this back out again and then refresh. You can see now that these are no longer stretching all the way to the bottom. And you may want to, that's maybe what you want to do that. Maybe you'll have a background color over here and you don't want these stretching. You want to see that background color over there. So none of these are stretching. So if I made this one even bigger, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to number 3 and let's do paragraph forum. And then let's do a second one, paragraph forum, and file, save all, and refresh. Oh, it's wrapping. See, we had that wrap on there. Let's do no wrap. So you can see that, look at the power. You wouldn't be able to do that otherwise. So let's go back in here and let's not wrap it. File, save all, and refresh. And you can see what happens. So now this one is the biggest one. And, well, actually, this is the most content. And you can see that this one now is totally squeezed because it's taking up only that much. And then this one, but you can see that they're all different sizes. Wonder why this, oh, that's because this is squeezed so far down for that. Let's, oh, I see the width is 400. I wonder if that made a difference. Let's go ahead and take that off. Yes. So the 400 said, okay, this is all I wanted. If I take the 400 off, it automatically does the math and says, well, which one has the most, which one has the next, and which one has the least, and it gives it the width of those. So you can see that, well, you really can play around with boxes. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I gotta go here. Play around with these boxes for what you want, and then as it gets smaller, things can wrap around if you want. And here's the baseline. So again, they'll be to the bottom of the content is how they'll be aligned. And we saw that with inline. So this makes it like real inline element. And aligning content. And then you can change the order. And I don't want to get into that with this video, but I can even do that with media queries and say, well, I want it to go 1, 2, 3, 4 at certain sizes, but when it starts to wrap around, maybe I want to have 3 be the first one. And then I can, at the media query, say, well, at this breakpoint, I want now 3 to be the first one, 2 to be the second one, and 1 to be the third one. And I can move those around using that order. And again, that for that one, it is based upon the child. So when you talk about order down here, everything has to do with the where did I see order? Order. So when you're talking about order, or you're talking about flex grow, and then it's going to I can tell a child that its order is 1, 2, 3, the way it is now, and then at a media query say that I want 3 to be the first, and 2 to be the and 1 to be the second, and 2 to be the third if I wish, and change that. But these are children properties, so I'd have to change that based on the child. Let's go ahead and see. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. So this is the first child. Let's do order. 3. File, save all, and see what happens. What? See, now it's going to, now 1 has turned to 3, and 2 is the second one, the third one. So you really can have some creativity in moving your stuff around based upon Flexbox. And this is a 20-minute video. Sorry I took so long. We'll go on and build something and then use these principles in building a website.